I'm not sure if I will move to America one day, but I know one thing. I'm not moving to California. Look at those prices. 700k? No chance. I don't have that type of money. Actually, who have that type of money? I don't know. What's up, my friend? Today I'll be reacting to super interesting maps of the US that you need to see. This should be a fascinating one. But before I go into that, can I ask you for one thing, my friend? If you can leave a like on this one, thank you so much for that. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description. You guys end up recommending this one quite a lot, so let's play it.
Maps are the best. I keep repeating this in videos, but I really think it's true. I could look at almost any type of map for such a long time without getting tired of it. And the reason why is that when you look at a map, you're always learning. Regardless of what the map is about, it presents you with some type of data regarding the depicted territory. So in this video, we're going to do exactly that and use around 10 maps to learn some interesting pieces of information about the United States.
Okay, to be honest, maps when it comes to America are fascinating to see because so many different states. Oh, I love it. I love it.
There's an infinite amount of data maps we can use in a situation like this. I chose 10 that I came across online and that I found particularly interesting, allowing us to draw some specific conclusion from them. They are also unrelated to each other. A quick disclaimer, I got these maps off Reddit, Instagram, and other places online. Remember, there might be some inaccuracies. Let's start with the view on the thumbnail. First, house prices. Looking at this map, we realize that houses...
Wait a second, this is an important one. Well, friends, I have a confession. Yeah, I have a confession. You may have been not noticing that, but I completely fell in love with America. And yesterday, actually, I was thinking on my bed, there is any chance I can move to America? Not visit, because visit I will do it eventually for sure, but even moving. And see, this map is very important to me because I'm not sure if I will move to America one day, but I know one thing. I'm not moving to California. Look at those prices. 700k? No chance. I don't have that type of money. Actually, who have that type of money? I don't know. But there is a lot of cheap states, if you get what I mean, and I think I would be also super happy in the middle of America. That said, this is more or less what I was expecting, my friends. California, very expensive. I assume, for example, right there is probably Miami, so makes sense to be expensive. New York, Washington, expensive. I believe this is Colorado, right, my friends? Colorado surprises me a bit. To be honest, Colorado is one of the most beautiful states. So I understand why people want to live there, but more or less in line with what I expected. For example, those regions in Texas, I assume are maybe Dallas or maybe Austin, something like that, right?
Seem to be much more expensive in...
Actually, let's run a bit back, my friends.
Looking at this map, we realize that houses seem to be much more expensive in the western part of the United States. This surprised me. I knew urban centers were very expensive in the west, but I assumed altogether the East Coast states had a higher cost of living. Apparently, this isn't exactly the case. California seems to be the most expensive state overall. Maybe only Connecticut rivals it. Although this map is divided by counties, which allows us to get a grasp of the different realities within the same state. This is especially interesting in the East Coast, in places like Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, or Virginia, where the vast majority of the state is much cheaper when compared to the main urban centers. The whole state of New York is much cheaper than the Manhattan area, known for its ridiculous housing prices, and the same happens, for instance, in Tennessee. I was surprised by some of the most expensive places.
Look at Tennessee chilling right there. Yeah, Tennessee people, rich people.
Honestly, I had no idea that Colorado was also expensive. Hawaii was more expected. An interesting map associated with this one is the next, which points out the salary you need to afford the average home.
Okay, this is an important one to me, honestly. Let's see if I can move to America. This will be the most important map. Yeah, no, I cannot. Let's continue. Oh, wow. Those salaries are quite big for us in Portugal, not gonna lie. Okay, maybe I can go to Ohio, and I believe this is West Virginia. But other than California is absurd. Oh, this is Hawaii, right? Oh, wow. Again, this is another one interesting to me. I'm joking a bit, but yeah, the cost of living in Portugal is quite lower than the cost of living in America, as you can imagine, right? Okay, those. I mean, so so this has to be per person, or two-person can make this and be okay in a state like that. Salary you need to afford the average to afford the average home in your state. Okay.
Home in each state. This presents an interesting comparison with the previous map because it takes into account another important aspect in house purchases: salaries. If in a given state prices are super cheap but the salaries are super low, then maybe they end up having a worse housing situation than a super expensive state that has medium-high salaries. Colorado stands out again as one of the worst here, but none beat California.
Well, friends, I probably have a lot of people watching me from Colorado. Why is Colorado so expensive? Don't get me wrong, I know it's a beautiful state, it's a tremendous place to live. It seems a bit out of, you look at New Mexico, the difference is so big, and they are neighbors, you know what I mean?
California. In 5 states, you need a salary of over $90,000.
Or, of course, Kansas. Sorry, right back. This is Kansas, right? Or Arkansas, I'm not sure. Arkansas, right? Arkansas.
But none beat California. In 5 states, you need a salary of over $90,000 a year to purchase the average home. California, Colorado, New York, Hawaii, and Massachusetts. Washington, Oregon, and Utah are the next higher level. The best relation between house prices and salaries seems to be in Ohio and West Virginia, then Montana, Idaho, and Nevada, along with Virginia, Connecticut, and Florida, which range between $70,000 and $80,000. Texas, Minnesota, Arizona, Alaska, North Carolina, Delaware, New Jersey, Vermont, and New Hampshire are in the halfway mark on the scale. Texas surprised me. I thought it would be higher up. And then in yellow and green, we have the places where lower salaries will be able to buy you a house under the terms pointed out in the title of the map. Then we have the second map on the thumbnail, forest area. This map surprised me for 2 reasons.
Ooh, this is important to me because I love forests. But looks like Ohio and West Virginia have a lot of that. This is more a desert type of, not what you eat, you get the point, desert type of area. Okay.
One, I always knew the US had a lot of desert, but I didn't expect this whole wide area in the middle to be so empty of forest. The high degree of vegetation in the west coast was expected, but
to be honest, yeah, it's kind of weird actually. Basically, look, the middle have no forest at all. Oh, wow.
But it also surprised me the East Coast areas are so densely full. This is the area of the US that's most inhabited, and usually more humans equals less nature. I'm glad to see this isn't the case. There are some conflicting maps about this though, although I think the key differences lie in one being a map of virgin forest, meaning naturally occurring, and the other including all, meaning also the ones that were planted by humans. This series of 3 maps, one from 1620, the other from 1850, and the last from 1926, shows us how devastated the virgin forest of the US has been, with the majority of it disappearing and being cut down.
Oh, that's crazy, right, my friends? But I'm the only one that finds this fascinating. I love to learn this way, looking at maps. Leave a like if you enjoy this type of videos, because I can react to more stuff like this. I really have a great time. Oh, but this is scary, right? The forest is going away.
Areas roughly coincide in all the maps, with the desert areas always being there. Is the first map accurate in representing forests today? Let me know in the comments. Now, before we keep going, a quick message from today's sponsor, Masterworks. By now, we've studied the economies of countries all over the world, and we know some events transcend time, pandemics, wars, and are confused. I talked about precious metal, which can retain valued for centuries. It's near its current levels, 17.5 in art, but painting. I can't stress this enough. This isn't like Picasso, ESE 9 exits. Nearly 600,000 people have signed up so far. Access and skip it through the link in the description. Now, back to the video. Oddly enough, the forest coverage doesn't seem to affect or create any associated trend in the presence of animal predators, which is what this map shows.
Okay, this is also quite important. Largest land predator in each US state. Okay. So, the red is grizzly bear. That's not good. The orange is mountain lion. That's also not good. Polar bear. Oh, there is no polar bear apart from Alaska. Okay, I was like, do you know what? I was thinking polar bear was in Texas. I was like, oh my god, what is this? In Texas, there is the American alligator. That's also not great. Black bear is everywhere, basically. Not everywhere, but in a lot of places. Okay.
The largest land predator by US state. Most of the South has the American alligator as the largest, while Florida has the American crocodile. I for one didn't even know the US had crocodiles. I thought it was only alligators, and
I also thought that. Yeah, that's crazy. I also thought America just have alligators and not crocodiles. Oh, that's crazy. Crocodiles are a bit more dangerous, I believe.
Crocodile. I for one didn't even know the US had crocodiles. I thought it was only alligators and assumed that only Florida and Louisiana had them. Most of the continental US have the black bear as their largest predator. It's important to point out this is the largest and not the most common or most dangerous. If you have the coyote, Nebraska the mountain lion, and 3 others the grizzly bear. In Alaska it's the polar bear, and in Hawaii it's the domestic cat, a very big threat. We essentially conclude that there are few states in the US where some type of bear isn't the biggest predator. This next map is old, it's from 1942, and it shows us the resources of the United States. It mixes extracted but also produced resources, so it's a little confusing, but it's interesting to see what came from where at the time. It doesn't specify a lot. For instance, all the ores are grouped up, but we get to see how mineral extraction was somewhat common throughout the entire territory, and also point out a few regional tendencies. The Northwest and Northeast seem to be the main origins of timber, while the South was where all the cotton came from, with grain being more common further north. California seemed to be the only state where fruit was produced, and sheep and pigs were mostly produced in the middle western area. Of course, this is now incredibly outdated. The closest version of this map that I could find was this one. It shows us the most profitable industry per state. The middle west of the country still has meat.
Okay, wait a second. This is super interesting, actually. Okay. So when they put in Texas mineral products, they mean oil. I'm assuming oil. Okay. Wow, aerospace right there, really? Oh, okay. Oh, this is so interesting.
It shows us the most profitable industry per state. The middle west of the country still has meat as its biggest industry, which shows perhaps animal farming is still prevalent. Surprisingly, a lot of states have aerospace as their most profitable sector. Yeah. Maybe this includes air travel, with even more having mechanics and machinery. Extraction is also fairly common, like in Texas, and automotive too. Maine stands out by being the only continental state in which fishing is number 1. Only Alaska also has it, just like Massachusetts with precision instruments, whatever that is, or Wyoming with chemicals. A lot has changed between the 20th and 21st centuries, but it's cool to see how some connections in industries still exist in specific states, as well as how much things have changed. Another map that shows us different categories per state is this one, which tells us the most common restaurant cuisine in each state.
This is very important, my friends. This is one of the most important maps. Food, we have to see. So, Mexican food, very common. Texas and California, They may not like each other from what you guys have been telling me, but they eat the same, which is a bit ironic. I'm joking, by the way, my friends. Now, okay. Italian food, pizza. Makes sense, right? Oh no, pizza and Italian, there is a difference. Okay, never mind. Okay. What is this? Pub? What is pub? Fast food. Okay. And Asian. Ooh, people in Washington love Asian food. Also in Alaska. Oh, that's crazy. You know why they like Hawaiian? I was not expecting that at all. And guess what? Since the main industry was fishing, they like seafood. Shocking. No, but this is crazy. Okay, I mean.
I guess it takes the number of registered restaurants, categorizes them by type of food, and then shows us which is more common, if it is accurate. Mexican food seems to be the most common in the southwest, while pizza is most common in the northeast, although Italian in general is also big in New York and around it. Maine has seafood.
Why are we pretending that pizza is not Italian? I know you guys have created a lot of different pizzas, but it's kind of funny that there is a difference between both. And in the other end, why is pizza not on the fast food category? This is a bit of a mess. I have to be honest. This is a bit of a mess, but super interesting.
Sense if they fish so much, as does Louisiana. Asian is very common in Washington and Alaska, apparently, while a lot of northern states have pub. I'm not really sure what this means, maybe some English influence, and Hawaii has Hawaiian food as the most common. It's interesting.
But my friends, do you know what they mean with pub? Because I also don't get it.
To see how the presence of specific immigrant communities may impact the results in some states. The East Coast, having so many Italian heritage families, likely causes their choice of restaurants, as must be the case with Mexican ones in the South, closer to the border with Mexico. Fast food, however, does break this trend in a few states. These are places that sell food, and when you buy something you have to pay a sales tax. That was a good transition, right? Here is a map that shows us the sales tax percentage by county in the US.
Ooh, this is important. This is very, very important. So this is Oregon. No tax. This is Montana. Guys, please don't be mad if I'm wrong about the states, but I've been learning and studying this. No tax, in at least big part. Damn, those regions pay a lot. This is Louisiana and stuff like that, right? No, this is Alabama, I believe it. Louisiana is this one. This is Mississippi. I'm going from the top of my head. You may be laughing if I'm saying something obnoxious, but I think I'm correct. Okay.
I'm not sure if the gray ones are 0%, I highly doubt it, or if there was just missing information. Again, if you know, let me know in the comments. It's weird to see how inside the same country a tax rate can vary so much, although I guess we need to remember the US is a federal state and they're
But to be honest, he's correct. I mean, paying 3% versus paying 12%, that could be big, you know? That could be big. I wonder if certain people choose... I mean, this makes a lot of sense that some people may choose a state because of that, right? Because that could be super important in the long run.
Almost a group of countries together, so it makes some sense that they each have their own laws. In Europe, I don't think any countries have different tax rates for different areas within themselves, even in...
Wrong. Actually, that happens, but it's quite more rare.
Federal countries like Germany, for instance, but let me know if I'm wrong about this. These southern states seem to be the highest here in red, although Arizona and California, as well as Washington, have high percentages too. New York seems to be the only East Coast state where they're higher, and Maine seems to be the lowest, along with Alaska and Hawaii. This isn't necessarily bad. I guess it depends on your point of view about taxes. Also, the percentage isn't as important as the base cost of the products. And differences in...
I mean, the thing with tax is if you pay a bit more tax, but the state have amazing roads, hospitals, stuff like that, Okay, but the problem is when you pay a lot of taxes and the servers do not work at all.
And counties are infinite. The most obvious one is the size of them in terms of area. Counties in the east coast of the US are much smaller, while as you move west, they become larger, mostly because they are less populated and more filled with nature, even if it's desert. Some bigger states maybe have 10 to 15 counties, while small ones reach up to 30. The east of the US was colonized first, and so its history goes further back, having had more time to grow and develop. This, along with other factors, led to more people settling there. The biggest explanation for this difference really is population density, as we can see here on this other map. But there are some exceptions. This shows us how 144 counties have more population, over half of the country's total, than the remaining 2,998, which really goes to show how concentrated the population is. Although it does put into question the argument I just made, a lot of these more populated counties are in the west and they have large sizes. So why aren't they separated or organized into smaller ones? Perhaps the answer to the question lies more in the time in which the eastern states were created and organized earlier in history in comparison to the later establishment and territorial organization of the western and center ones. And finally, this map shows us every place in the US that has had or has a woman in Congress. Some have had at least one woman in the House of Representatives.
Let's analyze this. At least one woman in House. At least one woman in Senate. At least one woman in both. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a great conclusion on this one, but so those states have nothing, have no woman representing the country in the Congress.
Others have had at least one in the Senate, and some have had them in both houses of the US Congress. Although it's interesting to see how
said these countries, I mean those states. No, I'm not sure, sorry.
Some have had neither. It's really surprising to find that some states, the ones in gray, have had very few women to represent them politically. Mississippi and Vermont, for instance, have never had either according to this map. A very shocking discovery for me if this is accurate. So,
shame on you, Mississippi. Shame on you, Vermont. Joking.
Those are a few, in my opinion, super interesting maps that teach us some super interesting pieces of information and statistics about the United States. Did any of these surprise you? Let me know in the comments, along with any other statistics you'd like to see in another video like this, either for the United States or another country or even continent. Thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you want, and I will see you next time for more general knowledge.
Okay, this was quite amazing. Again, I love to react to this type of videos, and the best way to tell me if you also enjoy this type of videos is always leaving a like. It's super important. Honestly, the one I end up enjoying the most, maybe even be the first, the house prices. I thought this is fascinating to take a look. So crazy to see California. 700k plus. That's great. If you are buying a good house, it's probably like 1 million, 2 million, right? Because this may be the entry point. It's crazy. But yeah, fascinating video for sure. And that's it for today, my friends. Hope you end up enjoying this video. If that's the case, do not forget to leave a like. Also consider to subscribe if you are new to my channel. And also let me remember you about one thing. I have a Patreon community. I put videos there a bit earlier than I put on YouTube. So if you want to support me and have access to early content, go to my Patreon. I will leave a link on my description. Take a look at that. You can also scan the QR code you'll be seeing here, and that's it.